Coming up in today's newscast, 2 rockets are fired from Syria into Israel. A terrorist stabs 2 civilians in Jerusalem, and thousands of protesters march in Tel Aviv as part of the annual Slut Walk. Israel is gearing up for the next national elections, and it looks like there's a lot of controversy already when it comes to the future of the political parties and their potential merges. It looks like Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has just fired Education Minister Naftali Bennett and Justice Minister Ayelet Shaked in an unusual reshuffle of his interim government. Netanyahu is claiming the pair cannot continue to hold such major political positions for the next 6 months after having failed to be re-elected by the public. Bennett and Shaked's New Right Party failed to clear the threshold in the April 9th elections, and both are already no longer members of the Knesset. The Prime Minister's decision to oust the 2 politicians is widely being seen as a move to prevent the once popular right-wing ministers from using their positions to bolster their campaigns in the September elections. Bennett and Shaked have already released a statement to the public saying they will cooperate with their replacements to ensure a smooth transition. According to reports, Netanyahu is planning to replace them with members of his own Likud party. The Israeli leader is also reportedly hoping to punish former Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman by depriving him of the necessary votes to enter parliament, all because he blames him for causing Netanyahu to fail to build a government last week. Lieberman, who is the leader of the Israel Beitenu party, is accusing Netanyahu of surrendering to Israel's ultra-Orthodox politicians. Initial polls have actually suggested that Lieberman may emerge from the coalition standoff even stronger and potentially increase his party's 5 Knesset seats to 8 or 9 in the coming elections. Meanwhile, there have been reports that the Labour Party may be mulling a new leader or possibly merging with Meretz or the Blue and White Party. The Israeli army has just attacked several military targets in Syria after 2 rockets were fired from the country into the Golan Heights. The 2 projectiles that were fired at Israel on Saturday night didn't actually cause any damage or injuries. They also didn't trigger any sirens because they were headed towards an open space and not a populated area. Either way, though, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu quickly took to the international stage to warn Syria, saying that Israel will react with great force against any aggression. And that's just what happened. Starting at just after 4 this morning, the Israeli Air Force began to attack several Syrian military targets, including 2 artillery batteries, several intelligence outposts, and a SA-2 type air defense unit. It's still unclear who's responsible for the rocket launches into Israel, but the Israeli army says they see the Syrian regime as responsible for all attacks against Israel from Syrian territory. Syria's official Sana news agency claims that 3 Syrian soldiers have been killed and 7 more have been injured in Israel's response attacks. This latest clash between Israel and Syria comes less than a week after a Syrian anti-aircraft battery fired at an Israeli fighter jet that was flying within Israeli airspace. The IDF quickly responded to the attack on Monday by targeting and destroying the battery and reportedly killing a Syrian officer and soldier in the crossfire.
לפני זמן קצר, הצבא הסורי ניסה לפגוע במטוס ישראלי. הוא לא הצליח. חיל האוויר בתגובה השמיד את המשגר שממנו נורתה האש. המדיניות שלנו ברורה. איננו מוכנים לסבול שום תוקפנות נגדנו, ונגיב נגדה בעוצמה ובתקיפות.
The rockets launched into Israel from Syria on Saturday night appeared to be the long-range variety and were fired from Damascus, which is around 35 kilometers away from the Israeli border. Joining us now to discuss the recent clashes between Syria and Israel is Dr. Martin Sherman, the founder and executive director of the IISS. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
All right, so let's talk a little about this spate of violence. What is Assad's interest in launching rockets into Israel? Israel is blaming the Syrian government for any type of violence that comes over. Of course, we don't know exactly who is responsible for the launching.
That's the point. I'm not quite sure that this was initiated by Assad or sanctioned by Assad, or they turned a blind eye. And of course, you know, I think that Assad has a very different cost-benefit calculus to that which Israel has, and trying to understand what he's doing on the basis of Israeli rationale is probably not the right way to go about it. I think one of the broader lessons is that just imagine if we'd given back the Golan Heights, as many people, senior figures in the defense establishment said we could do before the 2011 Syrian war broke out. and everyone thought that Assad was a great reformer. You can just imagine the dread that the country would be living in today if the Golan Heights were in the hands of the Syrian/Iranian affiliated forces.
Well, what do you think that this latest spate of violence means?
I'm not sure that there's any systemic significance to it. This may just be a sporadic spasm of renegades. It may be the reaction of Assad, who feels that he has to respond to continued attacks on his sovereign territory. I mean, you know, if you look at it objectively, I mean, I think Israel has a duty to attack these potentially aggressive initiatives within Syria. But on the, you know, Syria has the right to defend its sovereign territory. You know, I don't think that should deter us from fulfilling our duty to defend our citizens. But you know, you can understand a certain amount of discomfort that Assad feels that Israel can attack with impunity any target it seems to like, whether in the north or the south of the country.
Right.
And so you may feel some necessity to make some kind of response. Although if I were to put my money on it, I would say that this was probably not part of a larger strategy of Syria gearing for large-scale violence against Israel.
Right, because that is the question. Again, we do not know who was specifically responsible for launching these rockets. At the end of the day, Israel just, you know, consistently says that they will be holding the Syrian government responsible for all violence.
I think that's correct. I wish they would do that. You know, we show the same firmness in the south with Hamas, because I think we've been much more lenient in absorbing aggression in the south than we have in the north.
Right.
And I think that's a mistake.
Well, we don't have much time to talk about Russia, which is what
that's a very good question.
I mean, if you would like to give us a comment about Russia and how you think Russia should be involved in this latest spate of violence.
I think in many ways Russia is the ace card here. It all depends on what Russia does. It all depends a lot on what Russia does. I don't think that Russia will do anything that it doesn't perceive in its own interests. I think it will pursue its own interests without any consideration for others. And I think in this way, Netanyahu has done a good job in dialoguing with Russia. And, you know, I mean, with all the criticism of Netanyahu, he certainly has done a remarkable job in setting up a personal relationship with the American president and the Russian president. And I think this is something that is of value in Netanyahu's term as prime minister.
Well, you know, I think it's going to be very interesting to see if the violence that we're seeing take place on the northern border right now is going to have any impact as well on the upcoming elections. And it is a point that you made, obviously, about Netanyahu's close relationship with these leaders. But unfortunately, we have run out of time. I would love to continue this conversation.
In the Chinese sense of the word.
Yes, exactly. All right. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
A shocking video has just been released of a terrorist attack that took place in the Old City of Jerusalem over the weekend. On Friday morning, a terrorist from the West Bank critically stabbed a 47-year-old man at the Damascus Gate and a 16-year-old teenager in the Muslim quarter of the Old City. The teen and his brother were walking through the Arab market in the Muslim quarter after praying at the Western Wall just before 6:30 in the morning. The video of the tragic scene shows the two siblings being jumped by a 19-year-old terrorist.
Immediately after that, police units searched in and around the area of the Old City, where the terrorist was found inside the Jewish quarter area. What we know is that one other Israeli was stabbed during the attack itself.
Border police who arrived at the scene of the attack shot down the terrorist and neutralized him. The 16-year-old victim has sustained injuries to his back and is in moderate to serious condition. The 47-year-old victim, however, was wounded on his chest, neck, and head and is currently in stable but critical condition.
Heightened security is continuing in and around the area of the Old City in order to prevent any further terrorist attacks.
This terrorist attack came during a weekend of clashes between Palestinians and Israeli police following the rare decision to allow non-Muslims to visit the Temple Mount or Al-Aqsa Mosque during the final days of Ramadan. This marks the first time in 3 decades that such a move was allowed at the contested holy site. In turn, hundreds of Jews were allowed into the sacred space to celebrate Jerusalem Day, the 52nd anniversary of the unification of the capital in the Six-Day War. Police have been deployed in force on heightened alert today given the holiday, especially since the Jerusalem Parade or Flag March is expected to go through the streets of the Old City this afternoon. The event is frequently marked by tension with local Palestinians who are forced to shutter their businesses during the parade. In previous years, the march has marked sporadic incidents of violence between Palestinians and Israeli revelers. U.S. President Donald Trump's Middle East envoy has just met in Jerusalem on Thursday to discuss their long-delayed Middle East peace plan. Jason Greenblatt and advisor Jared Kushner met with the Israeli Prime Minister in an effort to drum up support for an economic conference discussing the plan that will take place in Bahrain next week. Israeli leader Netanyahu was happy to welcome the American officials despite the recent announcement that new Israeli elections would be held in September because of his inability to form a new government coalition.
And even though we had a little event last night, that's not going to stop us. We're going to continue working together. And we had a great, productive meeting which reaffirms that the alliance between the United States and America has never been stronger, and it's going to get even stronger.
Thank you. I want to thank Prime Minister Netanyahu for his gracious hospitality. I came with greetings from President Trump for you and for all the people of Israel. This was my first time in Israel since the President recognized the Golan Heights, which was a very important announcement. The security of Israel is something that's critical to the relationship between America and Israel, and also very important to the President and his heart. And we appreciate all of your efforts to strengthen the relationship between our two countries.
The rollout of Trump's so-called deal of the century regarding the future of the Israeli-Palestinian peace was expected to roll out in late 2018 or early 2019. But it was postponed to give Netanyahu the time to hold elections in April. Now that there will be a second round of Israeli national elections, it's unclear if the deal will be postponed again. But one thing is for certain. The U.S. will be holding a conference in Bahrain that will be held this month to encourage investments in the Palestinian territories by Arab countries. The only issue is that the Palestinian Authority has refused to deal with the Trump administration on a future peace plan after the American president recognized Jerusalem as Israel's capital.
And it's clear that so far the Americans have been kicking the ball down the road all the time about their plan in order to give Israel more time to create facts unilaterally and for them to create facts on the ground unilaterally, such as Jerusalem and refugees and so on, and prevent or circumvent any type of intervention from anybody else, including the Europeans, to have a political initiative. So on the one hand, they are buying time for Israel. On the other hand, they are actually preventing any political or serious political initiative to deal with the issues. And they are using this to put more pressure on the Palestinians and to adopt more punitive measures, including devastating economic measures against Palestine.
Meanwhile, the Lebanese terrorist organization Hezbollah is vowing to confront the U.S. Middle East peace plan.
هي صفقة الباطل. هي صفقة تضييع الحقوق الفلسطينية والعربية والإسلامية. هي صفقة تضييع المقدسات. يعني لا يحتاج الإنسان إلى الاستدلال بكل المعايير على أن هذه صفقة هي صفقة باطلة وصفقة عار تاريخي وصفقة جريمة تاريخية، وبكل المعايير أيضا يجب أن تواجه ويجب أن يقف الجميع في وجهه. The
leader of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, does not seem to be worried about the potential of the U.S. launching a war against Iran and is continuing to threaten Washington. Israel and the United States believe that Hezbollah is producing precision-guided missiles to attack Israel.
أن السيد ترامب والإدارة عنده وأجهزة مخابراته يعرفون جيدا أن الحرب على إيران لن تبقى عند حدود إيران. أن الحرب على إيران يعني كل المنطقة ستشتعل.
Well, Israel has been on high alert for violence during the month-long Ramadan holiday, and this weekend, Israeli forces shot and killed a Palestinian teenager who was attempting to cross into Israel from the West Bank by climbing over a security fence. A spokesman for Israel's border police is claiming that the teen was shot down as he attempted to infiltrate Israel, and Palestinian health officials say another 21-year-old was also shot and wounded in the same incident. The father of the 16-year-old victim says his son was trying to go and pray in Jerusalem for the Ramadan holiday.
عشان راح يصلي في الأقصى. عشان راح يصلي في الأقصى يقوم في واجبه. رايح يتعبد. بقتلوه عشان رايح يتعبد. رصاصة على قلبه. بيحكوا لعب. بيحكوا لعب. 16 سنة بربي فيه. أيوه شاب طويل عريض. عشان حرية الأديان.
Access to the holy city through West Bank checkpoints has been relatively open throughout the Ramadan holiday, with all women and men over the age of 40 being allowed to visit. But Israel has still been very prepared for potential violent incidents, especially after an attack on 2 Israelis early Friday morning by a Palestinian assailant from the West Bank. There have been sporadic attacks on Israeli civilians from Palestinians since peace talks broke down in 2014 that were being brokered by the United States. Many Palestinians claim the attacks are a result of Israel's strict restrictions on their freedoms in the territories. But Israel says the violence is fueled by incitement. Several Israeli soldiers have just been removed from their combat duties following an investigation into their poor response to a terror attack that took place in March. The IDF announced on Thursday that after looking into a terrorist attack that left a rabbi and another soldier dead, they determined that the soldiers on duty didn't behave according to what's expected of them. In March, Omar Abu Layla stabbed Israeli Sergeant Gal Kedan at the Ariel Junction in the West Bank. The terrorist then grabbed the soldier's gun and shot Rabbi Achiad Ettinger, who was standing close by. Both victims attempted to disarm the gunman but were too late. Abu Layla stole the rabbi's car and fled the scene, where he then stabbed another soldier in a separate location. The terrorist was eventually found and killed by security officials a few days later. But now the IDF investigation into the case has revealed several operational failures on the part of the soldiers who were on the scene. The IDF report accuses the soldiers of behaving poorly, being unprepared for their mission, and not carrying out what was expected of them at the scene of the attack. That being said, though, the report applauded Kedan for attempting to thwart the terrorist despite sustaining serious injuries. So what does this mean for the other soldiers who were at the scene of the attack? Well, in addition to being removed from reserve duty, the battalion commander has been reprimanded, and Kedan's commander will be up for an individual review of his own. The IDF is also going to reassess the professional and mental abilities of all soldiers within the Judea and Samaria division, which covers security within the West Bank. Thousands of demonstrators have just marched through Tel Aviv this weekend as part of the annual Slut Walk, an event that protests rape culture. As per usual, many of the protesters walked in various states of undress, all to make the point that women should be able to wear whatever they well please without being sexually harassed. And even if this seems like an obvious point, the march itself was actually originally started back in 2011 because of a shocking comment from a police officer in Toronto, who suggested that women should, quote, avoid dressing like sluts if they want to prevent being raped. Since then, slut walks have taken place across the world to protest victim blaming, sexual assault, and harassment. At this year's march in Tel Aviv, one of the main themes was Israel's planned legislation to limit the powers of the Supreme Court, so that Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu could be shielded from prosecution in a series of corruption cases. Slut walk protesters are worried that women will be some of the first harmed if such legislation is passed. Demonstrators could be seen carrying images of well-known Israeli sex offenders, including former President Moshe Katsav. Last week, around 600 demonstrators also participated in the 8th annual Jerusalem Slut Walk, causing a tirade of men who disapproved of the protest to try and disrupt the activists. Now, this week on ILTV's hit show Insight to Israel, I had the chance to meet an incredible Holocaust survivor whose generosity has saved dozens of lives. Check this out.
אני מרי נחמיאס, גידלתי 52 ילדים באומנה, ערבים, יהודים, כל ילד שהביאו קיבל את החום מאהבה בדיוק כמו נכדים.
Meet Marie, a Holocaust survivor who has over 100 descendants today. She was born and raised in Tunisia, where life was good until 1942, when World War II reached her doorstep.
בזמן השואה, גרמנים באו, התחילו לאסוף כל הצעירים. אז אבא קנה בקבוקים חומצת מלח. היינו ערב החתונה שלי, היינו 7 כלות. באו ערבים עם הגרמנים לרקוד, לאכול, עשו כיף ואחר כך הלכו. פתאום ב2 בלילה עם גרזינים, שוברים את הדלת. אמר, מה אתם רוצים? הם הרימו את הראש, רוצים את הכלה, ואבא מהר ריסס אותם. אוי אוי אוי, צעקו לשמיים ובורחים. הם ברחו והוא אמר לי, בואי מהר, תעלה עכשיו, על הסולם ותברחי מבלוק לבלוק. אז אני קופצת מגג לגג, מגג ונופלת ונגג. עד היום יש לי את הפלטינום. מאותו ערב 7 היינו קלות, רק אני ניצלתי.
Marie finally immigrated to Israel in 1950. She faced crippling poverty, but she was able to build a home, raising 8 children along the way. And then something happened to one of her sons that would change her life forever.
ראה את הקצין שלו נופל, אז הוא הלך מהר להגיש עזרה. הוא מטפל בו ואמר לו, שאול, קום, 3 באים אחריך. מכוונים עליך, שאול, קום, אני כבר מת, תעזוב אותי. כשרצה לקום, אז הם נתנו את הכדורים מהגב, יצא לו כל הבטן החוצה. הסתובב עם יד מחזיק, כל הבטן כך מחזיר את המעיים, ועם יד ריסס אותם. אמרתי, אלוהים, יקום לי שאול ויצא לי בריא, ויחזור לי כמו שהיה, אני נעשה כל מצווה שיש עד יום מותי.
And Marie kept her promise. After her son Shaul miraculously recovered, he became a municipal social worker. And one day, an abandoned baby was dropped off at his office.
נלחץ, הרים לי טלפון, אמא, בא אחד ושם לי תינוקת פה, ומה אני לא יודעת, חמה אש תינוקת. מה נעשה, אמא, תסביר לי. מהר עשיתי את התרופות של הסבתות. מהתרופות שלנו הערביות, עד הבוקר הילדה ירד החום, פתחה העיניים, וטיפלתי בה, ונהייתה בובה של ילדה.
After taking in the little girl, Marie understood what her life mission would become: to take in every abandoned child, no matter what its background or medical state.
היה ילד ערבי, בגיל פחות משנה, ונתקע לו בגרון. הילד נשאר צמח. האמא יש לה 2 בנים קטנים, לא יכלה, אז צלצלו אליי. אז ההורים אמרו, מה, יהודיה? אנחנו מפחדים. אמרתי לו, אדוני, הבן שלך נולד רק אחרי 2 חודשים בהיריון, אמר לי 9 חודשים. ואתה 9 חודשים, ואני 9 חודשים. כולנו בני 9 חודשים. כולנו בני אדם, וכולם אלוהים ברא אותנו.
Marie quickly became known for opening her home to anyone without a second thought.
יש עיוורת, יש מונגולואיד, יש צליאק. ילדים כאלה לא זורקים בפח. תביאו לי. כשהם יושנים אני סורגת ומוכרת, תופרת וילונות, עד 4 בבוקר, מבשלת. אם אני יושן 2 בלילה, זה יש לי מזל גדול. הכסף שאני עובדת בשביל לתת להם. האוכל מצוין, נקיים, לבית ספר, לגן, כל מה שצריך.
This year, Marie was selected to light a torch at Israel's annual Independence Day celebration, which is considered one of the biggest honors in Israeli society. But prizes mean nothing to the 93-year-old.
נותנים לי תעודה ולפרסים, אומרת אני רוצה את הפרס מלמעלה. היהודים וערבים, נוצרים ודרוזים, ככה נהיה, כולנו יד אחד.
All right, let's take a look at the weather forecast. A new week has finally begun, and today is mostly sunny with a high of 28 degrees Celsius or 81 degrees Fahrenheit. Tomorrow is expected to be even hotter with even sunnier skies and a high of 30 degrees Celsius or 87 Fahrenheit. So make sure to drink lots of water. All right, that's it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.63 shekels to the American dollar. For more news from ILTV, please subscribe at ILTV.tv. And finally, don't forget to like us on Facebook at Israel English News and follow us on Twitter, of course, at ILTV News. I'm Natasha Kirchuk, and thanks for watching.